All right, folks, what's going on? Back with another video. Hopefully, you guys are having a fantastic week. Everything is going good on my end. I cannot complain. And today we're going to talk about Weston Bryant, Georgia Southern QB Weston Bryant. This kid looks like he is ready to play right now. Now, I know the whole situation with JC French. He's going to be QB1. They already got Coach Clay Helton's son. He's going to be QB2 from what I hear. And, it's like a pool of quarterbacks is just there ready to go, but it is what it is. But when I look at a guy like Weston Bryant, I think he's ready to play now. And I'm not saying that he should be QB1, but they need to put some packages in for him ASAP. So let's talk about that. Give my thoughts and opinions. This is the VF Sports channel, formerly First and Frame Rates. We talk about Georgia Southern and Atlanta Falcons football. We're going to throw a little bit of Atlanta Hawks in there once the basketball season starts too. So hopefully you guys will come through and enjoy the content. Like, share, and subscribe. Give me some good feedback. I really appreciate it. All right. Coming out of Lee County, Georgia, 6'3", 250 pounds. You have Weston Bryant. I watched some of his high school tape. This kid looks like, he kind of reminds me in the mold of a Tim Tebow. And he can run the ball, he can throw the ball, he can do a little bit of everything. He's running over people. It is like really, really cool to see a kid like this coming down to Statesboro to play football. And I know, like I said, with the plethora of quarterbacks we have already, you don't know when he's going to get some chance to play. But I would like to see him on the field in some fashion this season, to be honest. I don't know how well he's progressing throughout the preseason, how things are going. But from what I hear, it seems like the entire quarterback, position, the quarterback group is doing really good. Not even just with Bryan Weston, even heard things about Charlie Johnson as well. So it seems like they're doing, a pretty good job of, producing the quarterbacks. This is one thing that we were worried about at one point, because can they produce quarterbacks? What are we doing? We're bringing in 6-year seniors back to back. But it seems like now it looks like we don't have to worry about that anymore. Even when you look at, like I said, Weston, or you looking at Charlie, even with Tyler Budge, and you got some guys there that can. I think they'll be fine if anything was to happen. But from what I see, like number one is French, number two is Helton, and it is what it is. But I want to see Weston Bryant get some packages, maybe in the red zone, maybe in the goal line, short yardage. Hell, I actually want to see him run some plays where he actually is throwing the ball. But like I said, it's all early. He is a true freshman. You don't know how that stuff's going to play out. Maybe we'll see some action, maybe not, especially at the quarterback position, because there's only one quarterback on the field at a time for the most part. And you just don't know how that's going to play out. Like, when you look at freshmen that come in, you rarely see them play to that extent. Like, we've seen some get some burn within the Helton era. Pashawn Wembley is one of them. O.J. Arnold. I even remember when Mark Stampley, when he was here, he was a freshman. He got some playing time. So it does happen. But when you're looking at the quarterback position, I just don't know how that's going to play. So what I would suggest, if it was up to me, I would love to see him play in some form of fashion where he is like doing goal line, a short yardage, even in packages that you just want to switch things up. That'd be pretty cool to see. So I don't know, how they would do that, but I would really love to see that. And I think that's a thing that's really a thing that you would like to see. JC French is another thing about JC French as well, which I don't really want to, throw it out there like that. But he has been subjected to have some type of injuries at times. He's been knocked out a couple games. You don't want to see that happen. But when you do see that happen, maybe Turner Helton comes in, you just don't know. But will it be a situation where Weston actually shines enough that he will get some playing time? The thing about this is when you look at the Sun Belt, and right now the Sun Belt is it's pretty much an open conference right now. You got JMU out there, you still got Louisiana out there that's doing their thing. Texas State is still going to be here for another year or so. You have some teams that actually can compete at a high level. Now, don't get me wrong. App State is still App State, but when you have a quarterback like this and he can bring some things to the table that's different, it's a whole different game plan when you have a guy like this. For the next few years, if he hangs around in Statesboro, he's going to be a really big deal for the rest of the Sun Belt. You just got to think about it. Look at Braxton that when he was at Marshall. I mean, Braxton did a lot of things at Marshall, and he's similar in size. I think he's like 6'2", 230 or something like that. But he was a big problem for a lot of teams. We were able to, make some things happen against Marshall. But a guy that size who can move and actually can run a little bit can be a really big, deal or really big problem for a lot of teams. So you will want to see a guy like this on the field. I have no doubt in my mind. I'm pretty sure that he's fairly durable. He's going to be able to make some things happen on the field. He may probably make some plays. I would like to see more of him, going down the road. But like I said, next man up or whatever the case may be, how Clay Helton does it with quarterbacks. He's one thing about Coach Clay Helton that I do notice. He's very loyal to the quarterback that he puts in position. So I would like to see some things happen over here with Weston, but you're probably looking at a situation where it's going to be something really, serious to happen for Coach Clay Helton to move on to another quarterback, especially in the middle of the season. I mean, we saw what happened with the whole situation last year, and you saw what happened with Davis Brin, and then Kyle Van Treese. Even when Kyle Van Treese was doing, above average, people were still asking to see other people, But I just look at it like this now. This is your chance to win the Sun Belt. And if you have to put this freshman in that could be a game changer and actually can make plays, you may want to consider putting that out there, the notion out there or putting him out there to make some things happen on the field. You just never know, especially when the game's on the line and, you have a goal line situation. I would take my chances to probably let him move the ball on the goal line instead of a J.C. French, or even in some cases O.J. Arnold or Terrence Gibbs. It's just like you got a 6'3", 250-pound guy who's probably going to get up probably about another 5 to 10 pounds at some point, or even more deadlier, if he leans down to about 240 and gain muscle, he's going to be a bigger problem for people. So it's a little bit of, of a situation where it's a good problem to have, but I also think that this is a problem that you may want to be cautious at the same time. I mean, you just got to look and see what you got as far as the talent, as far as where is he ready to get on the field as a freshman? That's something to really think about, especially with the quarterback position and the playbook that is complicated, like a Ryan Applin, something like that. How will that be able to play out? That's what I was thinking. I think they should just put packages in for him where he could do like a quick bootleg or a bootleg option where he can run or pass or something like that. Short yardage situation, goal line situation. Put him out there and just see and get a feel for what he can do. Because if you have a situation where even when you're playing against, let's say for instance, USC, or you're playing against Fresno State, you're playing against what? I mean, I don't care what type of players they got over there. Nobody wants to tackle a 6'3", 250-pound guy that's going to run at them. Nobody wants to tackle it. I don't care if you're a 5-star recruit. Nobody wants to do that. So this could be a situation where you can switch things up every now and then. So I think he looks like he's ready, but I don't know. Only Coach Clay Helton and staff, they know what's best. They know how to do things for the most part. They have proven that they have some, let's say some type of clout or some type of say-so or some type of authority to say what they're going to do with their quarterbacks. Because even with all things said and done, outside of last year, which we saw what happened with Dexter, we probably, made it okay with the quarterbacks overall since Coach Clay Helton been here. So we'll see how it goes. Y'all let me know what y'all think. I'm going to get up out of here. Thank you guys for spending the time with me. Hopefully you like this video, share this video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys on the next one. All right, y'all, I'm out. Peace.